20 nuggets, we're going to spend a lot of time getting to know each other and learning about how to go about managing a Citrix XenAPP 6 environment. Throughout this entire series, we're going to start with understanding the architecture of Citrix, going through the installation, initial configuration, and getting those applications ready to deploy to users, and at its conclusion, really help you understand those topics that are necessary for you to be successful in managing Citrix XenAPP. Along the way, we'll spend time helping you understand also the objectives and the knowledge that you need to be aware of in order to be successful with that exam 1YO-A18. If you pass that exam, you'll get the Citrix Certified Administrator credential. In this nugget, I want to spend a little bit of time really introducing you to Citrix XenAPP and also just Citrix certification. Now, why are we here? Right? We're here in order to help you develop those skills that assist you in managing XenAPP and dealing with the implementation, but also the daily care and feeding of a XenAPP environment. Obviously, we're also here, too, to help you prepare for that exam. Getting that CCA exam is a good thing for your career and helps you prove that you indeed have the knowledge and experience necessary to correctly and successfully deal with the XenAPP environment. I hope to, in the next series of nuggets, help you also by implementing or by talking about a few of my own personal experiences with XenAPP. I've been working with XenAPP since the days before it was even called XenAPP, or Presentation Server, or even before it was called MetaFrame, back in the WinFrame days. And so I've got a lot of experience with XenAPP and all of its various permutations, and hopefully can help you with a few best practices so that you can spin up your XenAPP environment very quickly and end up being very successful right out of the gate. In this nugget, I want to help you a little bit by first explaining just what the certification is. Right, if you haven't spent much time looking at the CCA, you're probably unaware of the things you have to be conscious of, the number of questions that are there, the topics that are going to be involved, what the statistics are for the exam, those sorts of elements to help you get prepared in your learning as we go through the next series of nuggets. We're also in this nugget going to talk about the series outline itself and the environment that we'll be using, the network environment we'll be using, in order to actually demonstrate all of the things that we're going to see in this XenAPP environment. Now, in this nugget, you're not going to see any Windows servers. We're not going to install any XenAPP components here until we get to about the third nugget. But for now, what I want you to do is be aware of the servers that make up this environment so that you could potentially follow along at home. Let's actually scroll through here to take a look at the certification itself. Now, the CCA for XenAPP 6 is passed or gained by passing the 1YO-A18 exam. And the name of that exam is Basic Administration for Citrix XenAPP 6. All you have to do is pass that single exam, and then you become a Citrix Certified Administrator. And that's Citrix's entry-level credential for their entire certification program. Now, normally, with a lot of these CBT Nuggets series, I like to, in this section, talk about the different certifications and exams that you need to take in order to advance yourself to the later levels, or the higher levels of certification. At this point, however, the XenAPP 6 exam is so early on, it's so brand new at this point, that some of the higher level certifications have not really caught up to what XenAPP 6 has got to offer. Citrix does have a Citrix Certified Advanced Administrator credential, which at this point currently is only limited to XenAPP version 5. One assumes that a XenAPP version 6 credential will appear at some point in the future. The next step after the Citrix Certified Advanced Administrator is what Citrix calls their CCEE, or Citrix Certified Enterprise Engineer. Now, you'll notice that the name of this credential actually includes the words "for virtualization" behind it, because in order to get the CCEE, you have to start by getting the CCA for XenAPP, but also the CCA for Xen Server, Xen Desktop, the Advanced Administration exam, and then finally a capstone exam called Engineering a Citrix Virtualization Solution. So taking that jump from the CCA to a CCEE requires quite a bit more effort. Once you become a CCEE, there's one more exam that's required to become a Citrix Certified Integration Architect, which is their highest level certification. And that is to obviously first get the CCEE and then to pass this Architecting a Citrix Virtualization Solution exam. That's a little bit down the road. Before we can get to the CCIA, your first step is to get the CCA. So what are the prerequisites? What do you need to be aware of and be prepared for to even consider even taking the exam? According to Citrix, one of the very first things you have to have is a knowledge of Microsoft Windows Server 2008 R2 and be able to configure some of the operating system components. They suggest that you have an intermediate knowledge of Active Directory and be able to deal with some of the common basic Active Directory things like creating users and managing permissions and administrator rights. And also some intermediate administration skills, including things like TCP and other network protocols, firewalls, email administration, terminal services or remote desktop services, the ability to create shares and also to modify Active Directory group policies. Having some familiarity with database concepts, particularly SQL Server, will also assist. And having a basic knowledge of the server roles that exist inside of Server 2008 R2 is also helpful. I also add the last little prerequisite in here, and that's a desire to learn. We have 20 videos that we have to work with together. That's a lot of time spent looking at XenAPP and really digging deep into all the different elements. In order to pass that CCA, you really have to want to know all of these pieces because there's a lot of memorization involved and a lot of experience that you'll need in order to successfully pass that exam. So if you do pass that exam, who are you? Who is the type of person that ultimately passes that exam? Well, Citrix recommends that exam takers have the knowledge, skills, and abilities necessary to install, administer, and support XenAPP 6 on Server 2008 prior to taking the exam. They assert that when you pass the exam, you have then proven that you are experienced enough to work with Citrix XenAPP 6. To take that exam, it's a 64-question exam with a passing score of 67%. Essentially, if you can get 2 out of 3 questions right, well, you're going to pass that exam. You have 90 minutes to take the exam, and if you don't speak English as your primary language, you'll have 30 extra minutes. And most of the questions are multi and multi-choice, meaning select one or more of the following. Also, there's a few scenario-based questions typically involved as well. The exam is administered through Pearson VUE, so when you get to the point when you're ready to actually sign up for the exam, you'll go to Pearson's website to do so. What's really more important is understanding the weighting of the different types of topics that Citrix wants you to understand to prepare for that exam. Citrix creates what they call a preparation guide for every exam that they release. And you can download that preparation guide from citrix.com. The preparation guide, and in fact, unlike a lot of other certifications, is extremely detailed in what it tells you that you need to prepare for in order to do well on the exam. One of the things it does is it lists out by percentage weighting the different skills or topics that will be covered on the exam, and then how many questions on average you'll expect to see on that exam related to that topic. I would spend some quality time with these statistics to help you understand where to focus your attentions whenever you get ready for this exam. Also in that preparation guide, although not shown here, will be a deep dive into each one of these topics to tell you specifically the activities and specifically the things that you need to know related to each topic so that you can accomplish those things. If you understand what those skills are, you should be able to answer the questions that are necessary for the test. Again, spend some good quality time here as we go through this entire series because understanding what those percentages are and what the activities associated with those percentages are will definitely help you pass that exam. I have 20 nuggets that I've put together for you here. Here's a list of those 20 nuggets. And over the next period of hours, I'm going to walk you through demonstrating all of the things you need to be aware of to be successful for the exam and also just for managing your XenAPP environment. One of the benefits of using computer-based training is the fact that I can very easily mock up and simulate what you would be going through in your own learning experience. If you follow along at home and create your own XenAPP environment, you too can expand that learning past what you see here on the screen. Now each of these videos is going to be about 20 to 45 minutes long, and you always have the ability to stop and pause and then restart to make sure that you understand everything about what you're seeing on the screen. I highly recommend, as we go through this entire process, following along, starting with number 3 here, where we begin the process by installing Citrix XenAPP 6. You will, with the free demonstration licenses or evaluation licenses that you can find on the internet, be able to do everything that I'm going to show you in this entire series. And I highly recommend that you do that because it really helps learn the things that you need to know. So what does this environment look like? The environment that we'll ultimately be creating throughout this series has, well, 4 computers in it. We have a domain controller, here marked DC. We have 2 Citrix XenAPP servers, XA Nugget 1 and to a lesser extent XA Nugget 2.